Hello everybody and welcome to the Action Figuratorium. My name is Mark Major. I'm a real big toy collector here in Southeast Portland. I'm also a real big fan of the fantasy genre, and of course fantasy action figures naturally go into that basket. I'm also a fan of Horsemen Studios and their Mythic Legions line of fantasy figures. I've been a fan ever since those figures debuted. I absolutely love what they've done with the concept. It just continues to get better and better. I continue to get amazed by how awesome their designs and their sculpts are and the characters are that they come out with. And so, of course, when they do something like announce the dragon, of which I've made 2 videos so far, links below in the description, 2 videos in which I talk about not only dragon action figures overall, like kind of a history of them by giving you a tour of all the different ones I've collected, I also kind of weigh in on what I think the Horsemen Studios dragon is going to be about in terms of its cost and some problems, including like the weight and the size and general things like that. Well, we have a bit of an update. They have, through the power of Instagram, and I'm going to talk about that as well, there's a footnote in there, they have announced that they're going to be doing a type of crowdfunding pre-order type campaign for this dragon. Now it is going to be March 7th that they're going to open up the pre-orders for 1 month. And we're going to look at how much they're asking, how much they need to raise in terms of how many units, and we're going to talk about some of the difficulties and problems I see with this particular figure. Overall, I'm very positive. I love the look of this figure, but I do have some concerns, and some people might actually feel a need to lash out at me at being some sort of a hater on some of these things. That's perfectly fine. We can discuss it, leave it in the comments. I'm always open to these types of suggestions, but we're definitely going to discuss it today on the Action Figuratorium, okay? We're going to switch over now to desktop cam. Who does not love desktop cam? So here is the announcement from the 4 Horsemen on their Instagram. Now, one of the things that confuses me with this company is they have this website, 4 Horsemen Studios. It's actually called Source Horsemen. It's like the source of the 4 Horsemen. Why wouldn't they call it 4 Horsemen Studios and they call it Source Horsemen? Don't know. It doesn't matter. Whatever. The domain name, it's irrelevant. But you would think that on their website that they would actually have all these types of big announcements. But no, they just kick this stuff to their Instagram account. Not sure what that's all about, but whatever. We live in the social media age. If that's the way they want to do it, that's the way they want to do it. It's like if they only announce things on Facebook and you're not on Facebook, how would you know? How do you reach customers? How do you reach customers? You're assuming a lot that people are going to rely on Instagram to find out about your company, when some people like me just check into the website every once in a while and see what's going on. I mean, they have blog posts and they have, they have in-stock sales and they have pre-order sales. Why wouldn't I go there for my information? So, before we even get into this conversation with the dragon, I'm already pulling out the red marker on this company and their marketing. There's something a little bit off with these guys. And I feel that at the heart of it, they're really just sort of action figure fans themselves who've been in the business a long time, and they fly at whatever speed they want. So you have to give them a little bit of margin when it comes to these things, and just know that that's the way they run this company. And if you haven't watched any of their live streams on YouTube, you would know that they're very sort of ghetto, informal, non-structured, kind of goofball. In some ways, I feel that the level of production should go up based upon what they charge for the figures and how great they look. I expect the podcast to be kind of equal, but these guys just kind of chug along like a broken wagon wheel at their own speed, and that's perfectly fine. I will allow it. A lot of companies are doing that these days. But let's get into the actual details, the nuts and bolts of the dragon. I'm not going to try to pronounce it unless you really think that that would make for a good laugh, in which case, joke's on me. But the dragon here, he is going to debut for pre-order March 7th, $550, and they need to get a Pre-order amount of 2,000 figures. That means they need to raise over $1,100,000 to get this thing into production. Now, a problem with my show here on YouTube is that I only address marketing issues, which is to say the front end. I do not know any of the details of the back end. I do not know what they have to pay per unit for one of these figures. I do not know how much the initial startup cost is for the molds, plus all the other little, steps along the way, checks and balances to make sure everything's coming out right. I do not know how many that the factory is requiring them to buy. These are all questions that, without knowing these back-end details, it's difficult to really focus on the front end, because the back end influences 100%, the back end influences 100% the front end, the marketing, that is. And so I can only make my own sort of general theory guesses on this stuff. If somebody out there, like say a Bobby Valla, who has knowledge of the toy industry production, or someone like Ace from Ramen Toy, were to reach out to me and give me some ballpark ideas, I could talk more succinctly about the marketing behind this, meaning how many units they're trying to sell off, that they think they can sell off, because remember, this is all projection on their part, and what they need to charge, that kind of thing. So, $550, 2,000 units. Do I think that they can hit this target? I'm going to say 100% yes. If you look at the comments on this thing, it's just tons of simps saying, here's my money, here's my money, here's my money. You don't need to put that in the comments, people. There's nothing, you don't raise spirituality by doing that. Trust me. No one cares that you commented how much you love this thing and you're going to pay money for it. We get it. We'll see it when we see it. But it tells me that there's a bunch of people who are going to throw down on day one to get this thing. And to be honest, I don't blame them. This is, in toy universe, a pretty rare, unusual, and crazy sighting of a toy. Look at this thing. This thing looks absolutely fantastic. The work that they did on this, the sculpture that they did on this, the painting that they did on this, they have put a lot of mojo into this action figure. And that is what you are paying for, people. I don't necessarily know that you're paying for just simply the cost of production and the molds and the nuts and bolts of making this thing happen. I think, in a way, that Apple has to overcharge by a lot for their iPhones to get across to you the value that they hold in the brand, right? This, too, is a luxury item. This is not a Volkswagen, people. This is a Porsche, okay? And the reason why I say Volkswagen and Porsche is because they were both made by the same guy, and let me tell you, he was in a particular political party. I'm not going to bring up. Same guy made both cars. But the Volkswagen and the Porsche, not the same, and this is not the Volkswagen. This is not the people's car. But I do think that there are enough rabid fans out there, and the Four Horsemen know this, and they've been waiting this long. They have built up their sales numbers to see how many customers they have, to where they feel confident that they can roll this thing out for $550 to try and sell 2,000 of them. How many do I think that they're going to actually get orders for? Somewhere between 2,000 and 3,000. I'll be surprised if they break over 3,000, only because cost of eggs is a lot of money these days, and this is a lot of eggs on people's tables. People who have families may not be able to just get this. A lot of bachelors could probably afford this. But this is going to take the place of somebody's PlayStation or their entertainment system, or, some kind of a big item in their life. Maybe it ends up being, the wife gets it for you for Christmas. That sort of thing. It's a big purchase. It's a big item. It's a big chunk of money and a big, huge hunking piece of plastic to to throw down for, but I think they're going to do it. I think it's going to be definitely going to be a success. I think it's going to be a crucial success story. And what I'm interested in is what happens next. Like when you invest the kind of money in the mold for something like this, which I'm guessing is probably somewhere going to be in the hundreds of thousands of dollars to get the molding done for this, right? Does the mold just sit around then? When do you make more? Do you come back with, use, because the Four Horsemen do this all the time. That's the whole nature of their business, is all the molds end up getting reused for parts to make new figures. Do you make a second dragon mold, and then from those two dragon molds, are you able to get like a third dragon, or can you add some extra like arm pieces, that kind of thing, to make this investment work as a company? And so I'm kind of seeing no. I'm going to say that I don't really see there being more dragons in the future, despite having the mold, because I feel like this is not the kind of thing that resells over and over and over again. It feels like a one-time shot, that it's not really the kind of evergreen thing. And I'll be honest, I really think that for the Four Horsemen, this is kind of their vanity project. This is their sort of bragging, look what we did. We made this thing. It's giant. It's huge. It falls over. It breaks. Great. This is going to have to be some type of hollow creature when it comes out. If this is a huge brick, people are going to be kind of bummed by the weight and the damage it's going to cause. It's going to like crush your all your Marvel Legend Venoms and Spider-Men and Ghost Riders. They're going to get destroyed when this thing like falls over on them. But I think if they engineer it right, it could be a home run. Do I personally think $550 is too much? Of course, because I'm the cheapskate guy. I'm just the voice of it should be cheaper, because you always need a guy to say it should be cheaper. Whether it should or not, you just need a guy to say it to be a counterpoint, and then we meet somewhere in the middle. For me, I would probably have to be somewhere in the $300 range for me to purchase this. I think $550 is a lot for, I mean, if you look at the articulation on it, it's a statue, okay? It's a statue, and I've got dragon statues already, and dragon statues are cool. I love dragon statues, but to me this is kind of a really expensive $550 dragon statue. What would be interesting, though, is if there was some sort of like another party, a 3D print party, that was able to make a type of a kit that you could print yourself that would be about half the price of this, right? That you could sort of, it would be a homemade job and you have to do all your own painting and a lot of stuff, and that's the majority of the people are not going to do that. But I would love to see somebody who comes out with something that kind of rivals this in scale and looks, that could compete with this on a do-it-yourself kind of budget. I think that would be sort of interesting and cool to throw that into the mix. The up-and-coming rival to Four Horsemen's Mythic Legions is, of course, Horsemen Studios Savage Crucible, which those guys are, let me tell you, just getting going. We're seeing the very, very dawn of that company. What you've got coming down the pike from them, I'm going to argue, is going to be just as good in many ways as the Four Horsemen. And they're obviously not going to do something like this right away, but they might get up to something like this for their own vanity project. And I'm on board for Dragon Wars. Why not? Why wouldn't you be? I think it's a whole kind of goofball, goofy idea, if you ask me, and more power to these companies. I mean, if you can find 2,000 people to buy this, sell it. Go for it. But I'm probably going to pass at the $550 range, because at the end of the day, to me, it just looks like a paperweight statue, which for you, if that's cool, love it. Get it, get 2, get 3, get as many as you can. There are going to be plenty of people out there that do interesting things with these guys, repaints, etc. They did mention there's some stretch goals. Be honest, don't really care. If you're paying for the dragon, you're paying for the dragon. The stretch goals is going to be kind of pure gravy. So that's about all I've got to say on this thing for now. Of course, I'm sure I'll, make another video about it when we get closer to the release date and talk about the other things, the stretch goals and stuff like that. But thanks to everybody who made it this far into the video. Like, subscribe on your own time. But until then, stay charged, people.